Welcome, cutie pies, to the Yoga Nishka podcast. If you guessed my name is Yoga Nishka, you're close, but I'm glad you're wrong. My name is Anishka, and I'm your host. Every week, we're going to start with my Tinder bio of the week. This week's Tinder bio being, I am queen, you are pharaoh. Feel free to take that, especially if your bio says, I'm not really sure what I'm doing here. Like, when it comes to the pyramids, all women inherently know who actually built the pyramids. I don't believe that there's any ancient knowledge on physics or aliens or external sources that helped us build the pyramids. In fact, men are the ones who build pyramids brick by brick, with a society that was run by women. Now, I brought up this theory to my friend, and he said, surely women had to be on the same page for this to be a functioning society, right? And it was like, absolutely, yes, you were right. Did you know that women have the ability to sync up their periods? We're meant to be functioning on the same page. When we function on the same page, that's when incredible things can happen. We can have men building the pyramids, us bound together, running a society together. So if you're a woman who's ripping down a woman, cut that shit out and grow the fuck up. What could be the motivation for men to build the pyramids brick by brick in a society that's led by women? Sex. Consider the fact that women are fluid. Women don't only want to subscribe to one sort of arrangement. So these men are putting the bricks together, and imagine the conversation that's going on. They're like putting the limestone and the mud bricks together with the basalt and granite and gypsum. Look, I know it's a bastardization to say that men build pyramids over the allure of sex. I'm a romantic. I grew up with my aunt telling me that Shah Jahan built the Taj Mahal for this one woman, and it was gorgeous when it was first built. There's water everywhere. This Taj Mahal right in the center, studded with gorgeous stones, this stunning landscape. Built that for one woman that he loved. Is that not the epitome of if he wanted to, he would? Maybe all men are subs, and women, we just need to step into us being doms. Is it that wild? Is it that crazy? Ladies, I'm gonna need you to remember, you are in fact queens. And guys, believe it or not, you are in fact pharaohs. And trust me, I have a hard time believing that too. I don't know. Okay, so let's jump into the namesake of the podcast, yoga. There's actually 8 limbs to yoga. The reason for going through all 8 limbs of yoga is to eventually attain a sense of bliss. So all of these 8 limbs are meant to help you get to that state. Asht meaning 8 and Tanga meaning limbs. Ashtanga, 8 limbs to yoga. And what we know in the Western world is the physical practice of it, postures, otherwise known as asana. But the 8 limbs to yoga also includes yam, which is a social contract, how you operate within society. There's also niyam, that's a personal contract, and the duties that you owe to yourself. Then there's asana, the physical practice, yoga classes, pranayama. If you've taken my classes, you know that there's a heavy emphasis on pranayama, breath. There's different types of breath that you can invoke. Pranayama is absolutely essential to yoga practice. Pratyahara, which is withdrawal of oneself, tuning into the inner self. And I think the best way to describe this is with the withdrawal of the 5 senses: smell, touch, taste, sight, and hearing. Once you withdraw out of all 5 senses, what are you left with? Next up is dharana, or concentration. Concentrating on the task at hand and not so much letting the chitta vritti, or the monkey mind, the thoughts, jump from tree to tree. Then we have dhyan, which is the flow or the meditative state. I think that we've all experienced this, like when I'm painting, I'm writing, or even just doing laundry. Like maybe when you're driving, you arrive from one place to the other, you've kind of flowed into that. Maybe you've experienced this playing basketball or any kind of sport where you're dribbling. Your hands seem to be connected with the ball, and boom, you get around some hard defense and you sink a jump shot. And finally, it's samadhi, liberation. The purpose of yoga is to unite oneself to every circumstance around you. So samadhi is the unity or the union of oneself to one's surroundings. Yoga has been structured to look a certain way. You have to look a type of person to do yoga, but actually that's only limiting you to one limb of yoga. You don't have to look a certain way. You don't have to be a certain type of person to do yoga. You can be anyone, and any limb can be one that you focus on. Perhaps one limb of yoga calls to you over the other. The important takeaway here is that you don't have to look a certain way. You don't have to wear a certain type of clothing. You don't have to be a certain person to actually do yoga, or better yet, experience yoga. Keeping up with the theme of dismantling certain structures in our minds, wise man Reggie Watts once said, "Why shit so crazy?" I agree. So this is our segment where we break apart some conditioning. Okay, so the Sanskrit to the English translation, there's a lot of things that are kind of lost. There's emotions that are lost. There's also words that are lost. When it comes to Sanskrit vocabulary, words are more so concepts. They're umbrella concepts that include many, many other words and ideas under that umbrella. So when I refer to the feminine or masculine, it's because the English language is limited. So when I speak to the masculine, it's not necessarily a man-leaning thing. Or when I speak to the feminine, it's not necessarily leaning towards females. And of course, there are people who exist outside of these words. We don't have words in the English language to really include the genders or identities or the structures or concepts in between the feminine and masculine. All right, so let's bring it all home together. I'm proposing a journal prompt. Set a timer for 2 minutes. When you do this, what do you classically or traditionally consider as feminine, and what do you classically or traditionally consider as masculine? My mentor really believes in cementing journal prompts with an illustration. So for this illustration, I'd like for you to consider the masculine as the sun, and then you draw right next to it the moon, which I consider to be feminine. All right, cutie pies, that's your journal prompt for today. Thank you so much for being here, and remember, now more than ever, it's important that you are relentless in your pursuit of happiness. Until next time.